Yeah, it's a great reset is coming, a monetary one, but jumping to implantable microchips, Mike, what do you think?
I think these people are dangerous. I think that, it's really interesting that they think that they have this privileged place in society and that they get to determine what happens with the world. And then people are willing to go along with it. I've never been, I always used to say, and Dan was actually the one that came up with this, I don't deal in conspiracy theory, I deal in conspiracy fact. And so I've steered away from these things for a long, long time because I didn't have proof. But now they're coming out every day and saying this stuff. And all of these conspiracy theorists were right. They were the ones we should have been listening to.
Right.
I thought they were nuts, but they're not. There's people that are really trying to take over the world, control everybody's lives, limit the population. What are they going to do with these microchips? They get to control you, is what they want to do. And I'm sure that one of their goals would be to reduce the size of the planet's population. And I'm sure that they're not on the list for reduction.
Yeah.
They see themselves as, just like Chris said, they want it all for their jet fuel. you know? I think it's crazy, but the reset that they are talking about, you're going to play the game whether you want to or not. You're either going to be a victim or a beneficiary. There are only two sides to this. It's a binary outcome. And so if you want to be a beneficiary, you have to put yourself on a proper side of this. And, there's areas of our lives where we're all going to be victims because I just don't think the future is as bright as it used to be. But if you've got some resilience and sustainability in your life, and go to Chris's channel, Peak Prosperity, for all of that. You're going to find out a lot if you go over to that channel about how to prepare for what's coming up right now. But then when it comes to financial, this could be the best thing that ever happened to you in this. I've been writing about this. I was expecting in the crisis of '08 for this to play out and then we'd come out with a healthy recovery, but they didn't let the markets and everything clear to the point where we could start a brand new bull market in stocks and things, and where currencies could be stable and where they could run this without all of these enormous deficits that are so self-destructive. They didn't let it, Greenspan didn't let it happen, then Bernanke didn't let it happen, then Yellen, and now we've got Powell. They keep on slapping Band-Aids on this bubble, this balloon that's about to burst, while they keep on blowing air at it at a greater and greater pace. And a hole springs up and they slap another Band-Aid on, expecting a good outcome. It can't have a good outcome unless you're invested in precious metals, possibly cryptocurrencies, I think most likely cryptocurrencies. And then you should also have a plan for being as resilient as possible personally and having access to food. We're getting to a point where they're talking about food shortages, supply chain disruptions with this next lockdown. And people are getting scared of that. I'm purchasing a small farm and getting ready for this. I've got my own solar power. The internet down here is not all that reliable in Puerto Rico, so I'm expecting the potential for problems there. But I've got my own clean water sources, power sources, and place to grow food. That's the path I'm headed down with a lot of precious metals. That's my main investment. So,
Yeah, very good. And that kind of is the third topic I wanted to ask you guys. And Chris, I was really impressed on your site, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you've kind of switched from looking at the problem and diagnosing the problem that is staring us all in the face, and switched over to more solution-based action right now. So if that's correct, can you share with us and share with the viewers what you're personally doing in terms of a solution to deal with all the things that we're going through, not just right now, but what you think is coming down the road over the next few years.
Well, sure. This is it's really important that people have that context, and you're right. For a long time, I was in problem definition space because it's really hard for people to get their heads around something this big that's happening, and this is super big, right? This is like the biggest shift that's going to happen in anybody's lifetime, or maybe in 100 lifetimes. This is ginormous, right? So it takes a lot of sort of consistent sort of data and convincing because it takes a while to get your head around it. Well, enough people have their head around it. It's time to say, great, what are you going to do about that? And so we talk about resiliency and being resilient, and we break that down around 8 forms of capital that if you're rich in all 8 of these, you are going to be resilient, right? Still no guarantees of that it's all going to turn out great, but you have a much better chance. And so that's what we're really doing here is loading the dice in our favor in this story. And by the way, everything we would recommend are things that Adam Taggart, my co-founder of Peak Prosperity, and myself that we're doing, that you just heard Mike is doing it. Like, we walk the talk. And so if you go down this path of resiliency, our guarantee, because we can guarantee this, is that you won't regret it, because we're talking about things that will make you happier, secure your wealth. You'll be in greater control of the things that you can. You'll have deeper relationships. So the things that you can control, because Mike's right, there's nothing we can do about this great reset except decide how we want to position ourselves for it, because it's coming. There's nothing I can do about Federal Reserve printing, but it's coming, right? More, not besides what's happened. So you look at the big trends. That's the problem definition. What do you do about it? My own personal response. I have cows and chickens and raised pigs this year. I've got a garden. I'm actually working on my soil. I think soil is the key to everything. So to the extent I can, I'm building that up. I bought a place that specifically had an uninterruptible spring-fed water source. These are the things that make me feel good, that I can take care of Maslow's hierarchy of need bottom rung: food, shelter, safety, warmth, right? Those are the things that I care about. Water. But because I have those, I'm free to do the other stuff I want in life, which is to be happy, be healthy, have a life of meaning and purpose and all of that. So we're not into this as a question of survival. We're not interested in that. We're interested in get yourself squared away so that you can be resilient, so you can have as rich and meaningful a life as you possibly can. And I know for a lot of people that sounds like a tall order, given how crazy everything is out there right now, but it's possible. And of course, some people will play the game really well and thrive, and other people will get caught up by things. And the difference between those two groups is, do you understand the game that's actually being played out right now? And so, that is, if not problem definition, making sure you have the appropriate context. You got to know what's happening monetarily. If you haven't watched and rewatched The Hidden Secrets of Money to actually understand the difference between currency and money and what the game is, then you should do that right away. If you don't understand what Davos crowd or the World Economic Forum is really saying when they say, we need this great reset, when you peel it back, they're really saying the pie can't expand like it used to. We're going to talk completely about how this pie gets re-divvied up. You want to make sure you understand where that pie is, who's on the receiving end of this fixed pie, and who's just lost a chunk of their slice. So that's really the story there. But then, please become resilient. Financial capital, social capital, living capital, cultural capital, these all matter. Very, very important right now.
Yes, very good point. And if you haven't visited the Peak Prosperity website, there's a wealth of information there that can really help people get started on this resilient lifestyle.